Thank you. I'm going to talk about something I'm really passionate about and something that sets my soul on fire. So really what's the focus of my soul? And that's called the girl effect. And there were so many ways I could have started this story and so many things I could have told you. And I just decided to start at the beginning. So on this slide, you see two little girls. On the right, you've got Rebecca. Rebecca lives in Indonesia. She is 4 years old. She loves to play with her siblings. Her both siblings are a little bit older. Her favorite dish is a kind of rice dish I really can't pronounce, even if I try to. And when she grows up, she wants to be a teacher. Now, that's a little bit difficult for Rebecca because Rebecca lives in a country where 43 million people don't have access to safe drinking water and 42% of the children don't continue their education beyond primary school. And if you want to know how I know all of this about Rebecca, this is because Rebecca is the little girl I've been sending to school for the past 18 months. So, on the other hand, we've got this little girl. She was born in Amsterdam. She had a very blessed start in life where she was raised bilingual. She had parents who really valued her education, made sure she got into the best schools, drove her a little bit nuts about her grades, made sure she got a university degree even though they totally disagreed with the subject choice. And that little girl is me. This is me about 3 years old in Germany looking very ecstatic that there's a picture taken. So fast forward 6 years and this little cute 4-year-old turns into an obnoxious 10-year-old, even though my mom keeps on insisting it wasn't that bad. But I turned vegetarian and tried to turn the whole family with me. I was the first one and we started a year-long battle of me having to pick out the meat of my food and then trying to convince my dad to not buy meat. I made long lists of products my parents couldn't buy because they'd been tested on animals. And to my grandmother's horror, I tried to ask for gifts for my birthday. I tried to ask for money so I could buy a piece of the rainforest and protect it. And my grandmother was having none of it. So as I grew older and older, there were so many things I, as a little girl, saw and I were wrong with the world and that I wanted to be different and I wanted to change. But there's just so many things a little girl can't change on her own. So the older I got, the more burned out I got, the more burned out by good intentions because I so badly wanted to make a change. But whatever I did, however many pieces of rainforest I tried to buy, it just didn't make an impact. So I figured it out. I figured we need more people. Now bear in mind, a lot of the problems in this world aren't going to get better by adding more people to the equation. But here comes the question of sustainability into the fore. Because if a country doesn't use up to 50% of its resources, we can't call that sustainable. Yet this is exactly what happens if girls get denied an education. So there is an extremely large group whose potential we're not using. This is where the girl effect comes into place. And the girl effect is where girls go to school, get an education, all kinds of magic things happen we're going to talk about in a little bit. But first let us talk on the opposite side. Let us talk about why girls don't go to school. There are a number of reasons. There are cultural reasons. In some countries and some cultures, sadly, it's still not thought even a good investment to send a girl to school. She's going to get married anyway. She's going to get children. Why bother? She's not a guy. 51 million adolescent girls between 15 and 19 are currently married, meaning they are raising their own children and are not focusing on their education. So you've got financial reasons too. It can be expensive, especially in large families, to send everyone to school. And this is sad because often it really comes just down to feeding the children at school, and some parents don't have that money. Or they even need the children to work and help out in the house and earn extra money that way. And the last one, there are practical reasons. Is it safe? Can a girl walk to school? Is it an all-boys school where one girl alone would be a little bit in danger? Is there even a school around? Maybe there isn't a school for the next 200 kilometers. And this one drives me extremely mad, the last one, periods. So once you get past the cultural stigmas and you get past the financial problems and girls actually do get an education, most of them drop out before starting secondary education because they get their period. What happens is they don't have sanitary napkins, they don't have tampons, they just don't have access to it. It costs about $2 for sanitary napkins, and $2 is way more than many people in the developing world are earning. So girls don't have access to tampons and lose out on their education. And this one just drives me nuts. So I focus a little bit on Morocco and our lovely host country this month. In Morocco, you have in the high Atlas rural areas, you have the problem of distance, where we just talked about earlier. There's just girls living so far away from secondary school that it becomes almost impossible for them to attend their education. The illiteracy rates for women and girls remain as high as 90%, and only 26% of girls in rural areas actually get to enroll in secondary school. And that's enroll, that's not even finish. So when girls don't go to school, you create this circle of poverty, and sadly it's often a circle of intergenerational poverty. Because what happens is girls don't get an education, meaning they marry young. They have children at a younger age, and probably more too, because you start younger, so you've got a few extra years. They have less money to support those children. They can't give them the proper health care. They can't send them to school. Girls who don't go get an education are more likely to get HIV and AIDS in certain regions, also because this is just often a knowledge problem. Girls don't know about the things that could help them prevent catching those diseases. And so it ends. They marry, they have young children, they don't have the funds, they get girls, and those girls don't get an education. And so the circle comes full stop again. There is a proverb, it comes from Ghana, and it says, if you educate a man, you educate an individual, and if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. And this is because of this cycle, because this cycle we just talked about, this cycle of intergenerational poverty can also be turned around. Because what happens if you do give those girls an education, if they have fewer children, and they can pass on all the benefits on to the next generations. And I love that, because that is sustainable change. So an educated girl will earn 20% more for each additional year of schooling. She will spend at least 70% of that income back into her family and to her community. She will invest even 10 to 20 times more back into her community than a man would. She'll marry at an older age. She will be more likely to seek health care for herself and her children, and more likely to educate her own children. And this is a ripple effect I was talking about. So when you change a girl's life, you don't change one life, you change communities. But wait, there's more. As many of you probably have heard from my accent, I'm Dutch, and we're all about the money. So let's see what other benefits there are for educating girls. So to give a few examples, Kenya, if girls would be completing their secondary schools, this would add 27 billion over the girls' lifetime to the country's economy. And in India, you've got 4 million adolescent mothers who can't go to secondary school, and they lose 383 billion in potential lifetime income. Another one is Ethiopia. If every Ethiopian girl finished her secondary education, they would have another 4 billion to spend. And this is more than the country receives in aid every year. And there is so much we can do. So this is something, when it came to my attention, I was so excited, because it seemed like we can create more people, and those people can create more people, and together we can actually make an impact. And there's things you can do in your own life. You can raise awareness. What it is that we're doing tonight. We're all listening to this talk. We're thinking about this, hopefully. You can support the little girls and boys in your own life to continue their education. Not everyone is as lucky as we are to be here to travel the world. And some of us might even come from cultures where girls are still seen as secondary of importance. So it's so important to really, really make sure they invest in their education. You can invest in sustainable stocks. So I was really shocked to find a few years ago that the bank I had my money with actually invested in funds that bought weapons where children of about 10 years old would go to war with. And I said, nah. And I changed my money over to a bank which specifically says they're not investing into those things, and they're investing in things like microcredits and other sustainable things like energy. And like Rebecca, I sponsored Rebecca for 18 months for $25 a month to go to school. That's nothing. And she gets to go to school, and it makes me happy every day. In Morocco, you have got education for all. These, like I said, I talked about the High Atlas area before. So what they do, they have boarding houses run by Berber women, and the girls can live there and actually attend secondary school and combat those illiteracy rates. And they are very successful. They've got an average pass of 97% every year. So as for Rebecca, I'm very sad to also say this is the last month I'll be sponsoring her and sending her to school. It's a very silly thing, and I was almost ashamed to admit it. But I wanted to share this story because I get it. Like, sometimes logistics get in the way. For me, it was the fact that the new bank account from a different country I have is not recognized by the sponsor organization I was sending Rebecca to school with. But I'm very confident that she's going to get a schooling because the organization is really strong in the area where she lives. And I'm really excited for her, and I hope she gets to live all her dreams. So for me, if you have read the introduction, I run a podcast and I interview female role models. So my business was really, really tied to this too. So I found a new way to make an impact, and it's buy one, give one. It's a really lovely, platform almost, where, for example, if you buy a cup of coffee, the store owner might donate 10 cents to water. And I found this great new project, and for every listener, I will now forward invest, if you can read it here, 4 cents, so a girl in India can get a day of education, and I will be making it that way. And like I said in the beginning, when I was a little girl and I really wanted to make a change, there was just so much I couldn't do on my own. And still, our world is facing problems, and teen pregnancy, HIV and AIDS, and there's so many problems in this world. So these girls deserve an education. And not just because they're human beings, not just because they deserve an education and shouldn't be denied just because of the color of their skin or the part of the world they'll be born in. But there's another reason. Let's help these girls, not just because they need us, but because we need them. Thank you so much.